Hello race fans and welcome to the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, live from Brands Hatch in beautiful sunny Kent. My name is Peter MacKay and joining me in the commentary box this evening is Soumil Arora. Soumil, we had an action-packed day at the Nürburgring with as many winners in as many races at the Nürburgring. 4 winners from 4. We're heading into Brands Hatch today. We're getting into the business part of the season, but Sam Coitert coming in from the Nürburgring is our most recent race winner.
I'm so glad. Sam Coitert, such a superstar of the championship. He's grown so much and now he finally has that big race win behind his back. Going to be lovely, this one. I wonder who's going to be winning this 5th round of the championship. As you rightly mentioned, Peter, a winner in every single round. Something tells me we're going to get another new winner right here, and it's going to go all the way down to the very end at Sebring. What a finisher that's going to be.
Oh, I tell you what, the big props to the guys at PorscheSport.com and Simpower for putting together a properly well curated calendar here. I mean, Sebring should be on every calendar. It should just be the law. Anyway, big prizes on offer here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. The winner of the Pro Championship, €250, €100 for second and 75 for third. And even for our AM-class runners as well, a much bigger field in this second season of the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. 60 for the winner, 40 for second, and 20 for third in the AM Championship. But here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, it's all about the race format, our heat racing format. We have 2 20-minute heats for you to get the evening started, up to 30 cars in each. However, only 10 from each heat will advance automatically to the feature. If they do not make it through to the feature, they have to go through the dreaded Consolation race, which is, I can assure you, where you do not want to be. And Soumil, we're here at Brands Hatch, which of course is home to the Formula Ford Festival, arguably the most famous heat racing event in global motorsport. But here in the sim world, this PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, the format has just been perfect for this championship.
It has, Peter, and I hope that we never ever get it taken away. It's something that I hold very dearly to me because just of all the drama it does create eventually. And with this track as well, Peter, many may think that, okay, Brands Hatch, historic, fast, beautiful, but racing, yeah, that might not be the best thing here. But no, if you remember a couple of seasons ago in the Porsche Tiger Esports Super Cup, there was frantic action, and as I like to say with all these technical circuits, it's good that we don't have too many overtakes because then it makes you appreciate each pass even more. And at Brands Hatch, where opportunities are limited and the track actually tests you, that's going to be essential. Driver skill, that's going to be on top of the list right here today, Peter.
It certainly is, and at the moment, look at that championship standing. Kevin Nielsen just 4 points ahead of Maxim Ramstein, who certainly came out of the Nürburgring pretty battered and bruised, but still got the car over the line to score some points. But will the Nürburgring be his drop round? We shall see. Alexander Lauritsen sitting in third, with Sam Coitert launching himself right back into the championship fight in fourth with his win at the Nürburgring 2 weeks ago. Gonzo Tastellant currently sitting in fifth, followed by Quentin Bialati, Kamil Grabowski, Brian Lockwood, Dylan Burst, and Pascal Costa rounding out your top 10 in the championship. In the team side of things, well, AXA Simsport with a commanding lead at this moment in time, with Roman Grosjean, R8G Junior Esports in second. Recent IndyCar pole sitter Roman Grosjean, of course. Racecraft Esports are sitting in third, with Team Anatolia in fourth, and Racecraft Esports sitting in fifth right now. But all going the way of AXA Simsport at this moment in time. So this is your circuit, one of the most famous anywhere in the world, a former Grand Prix circuit back in the day, and some iconic corners: Druids, Surtees, Hawthorns, Stirlings. I love there's a corner named after Mike Hawthorn, who famously used to actually race with a bow tie on.
Yeah, and Mike Hawthorn, a famous Ferrari driver, his story is amazing yet so sad at the same time. You have to read more about it, and especially in the biography of Enzo Ferrari, that'll tell you a lot about it. But it's a proper old school British racetrack, this one, Peter, and it's for the better. Elevation, grass on the outside, barely any room. It challenges you so much, and it has that certain element of flow which for some reason modern day racetracks are not able to recreate. So It's a real gem of a circuit, this one, and I'm so glad that the organizers have picked this one. Their choice of tracks is immaculate, because next is Suzuka. Ah, amazing.
Yeah, another cracker indeed, that is for sure. Been racing here at Brands Hatch since 1928, although the first race did not involve any cars. It was actually a race between cyclists and cross-country runners, and the cross-country runners actually won. So maybe not the right terrain for cyclists, certainly not in those days, but they paved it in 1950 and they've been racing here ever since. And one of the reasons why it's got such an undulating layout is because it was actually a military vehicle car park during the war, and it was bombed extensively. So a lot of these dips and valleys, well, yes, that's how they were created. They're not done, to say they're, well, would they be man-made? I suppose they are. So that's where the contours of Brands Hatch comes from, and it is really a challenge for our drivers. Let's see how they line up then for the opening heat of the night here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. PorscheSport.com, the world's leading independent Porsche news site. Brian Lockwood and Sam Coytert will start on the front row, with Kevin Nielsen and Alexander Lauritzen right behind them. Gavin Halls, great qualifying for him in the number 38 Porsche Sport car. He'll start from 5th alongside Alexei Nevzov, the real-world GT racer. Alexander Hetmank and Matthias Burke start from the 4th row, with Marco Jaeger and Matthias Jensen starting on row 5. Lewis Ward and Justin Rem start on the 6th row of the grid. And on row 7 will be Hendrik Lichtenhagen and Jaime Vieiro. Dylan Burst, the young Australian, will start from 15th on the grid, followed by Martin Donati and Clement Andriot, with Gilheim Pipers rounding out the 9th row of the grid. So, those are our 18 cars for this opening heat of the night. 18 cars, 10 go through out of this race as well. So, we've seen quite a lot here, Soumil, in the past where attrition rate can be very, very high at Brands Hatch. So the driver's going to have to make sure they keep it on the straight and narrow.
They have to. It's going to be a big challenge right here, Peter. There's no track limits debate here, because you go off, the grass will get you. If you miss a corner, you go out there, you're pretty much gone. The corners are so tight. One error, you could be hitting someone. This one is going to be one of their biggest challenges of the season so far on a driving track standpoint. But the competition, it's always been high. It will always be super high right here in the Porsche Sport Carrera Cup, and we love it.
We certainly do. We do indeed. Nice to see Brian Lockwood on the front row of the grid. He has had some torrid luck over the last couple of meetings, but the lights are being prepared. We're about ready to go racing here at Brands Hatch for the opening heat of the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. Off we go then. And it's a brilliant launch there for the number 3 car of Lauritzen. And look at Nezov as well, going round the outside at Paddock Hill Bend. You've got Sam Coytert squeezed in the middle there, and Lockwood's off onto the kitty litter already. And that's allowed Lauritzen to escape.
The bad luck continues for Brian Lockwood, who's in the gravel right now. And it's that Gavin Holt has gone alongside with him. I saw a similar liveried car, but Lockwood, the championship driver, the world championship driver in the gravel, along with a couple of other cars as well.
Oh, dearie me. Well, that's that attrition we were talking about. So Brian Lockwood's run of just rotten luck continues. But off we go. We are racing down towards Hawthorns right now. And this is where you've got real high-speed corners coming through here, through the right-hander of Hawthorns and then down towards Dingle Dell. And this is where you get the real dip and weave coming through this woodland part of Brands Hatch. It's absolutely spectacular when the motorcycles come to race here, but especially so in these Porsche Cup cars, through Sheen Curve and then over towards the left-hander at Stirling's, which, Soumil, has just a wonderful camber to it. You can really hook the car in there and get a really lot of corner speed.
Exactly. It's beautiful. It flows past. I love that corner, but more of that in a second, Peter, because there are two narratives that I have to speak about. The AM category leader, Matthias Burke, for Volante Racing, was also involved in this accident that we saw early on. That was crazy. Lockwood, Gavin Halls and Marco Jaeger. For Lockwood and Gavin Halls, the bad luck has been continuing for so long. They're involved in this one as well. At the top as well though, it is so amazing. Kevin Nielsen and Alexander Lauritzen. The two drivers were teammates only a couple of rounds ago, but then Nielsen left AXA Simpower. they go head-to-head against each other for the Heat 1 win. This is going to be a personal story, this one, Peter, then.
Yes, it sounds awfully like it. So let's get a look at our Alcontech.com replay. So it looks like the trigger started just the tiniest touch from Alexei Nezov to the rear of Gavin Halls, and that kind of created a bit of a domino effect, a very expensive game of dominoes. Whoa, and goodness me, Matthias Burke, not really much he could do there. Now, who was that in the Impulse Racing car? Was that Marco Jaeger?
I think that was Marco Jaeger,
Yeah.
He's also down 7, 8, 9 positions or something. I think he currently is in P number 16, and his odds don't look very pretty. Here's a look at the replay from his perspective. Look at that traffic jam of sorts that happens right there, Peter. It's a staple of Brands Hatch turn number 1 all the time, but this is where it really tightens out. Makes that touch, and then Burke and Jaeger both spun around. And why it's so important is that, as we saw earlier in the broadcast, big implications everywhere in the AM category, and Jaime Fierro has got it wrong as well.
Oh, Jaime Fierro will be furious after that. Goodness me, what has gone on here? Going into tangles with one of the cast racing cars, which I think was Martin Donati. Let's get another look at it. It's they just touch corner to corner, and both come off worse. And poor old Brian Lockwood's probably thinking, can I just get through one lap without someone hitting me, please? He misses out just so. Kevin Nielsen now up against Alexander Lauritsen. Nielsen leads, Lauritsen in second, and Sam Koiter continuing his rich vein of form. I mean, he really was imperious at the Nürburgring 2 weeks ago, and great to see him continuing that.
In a way he is, but he isn't, Peter, because Sam Koiter could have been a lot higher had it not been for that slightly mistimed start that he had right there. So he'll be wondering, like, okay, I made a mistake, let me put that behind me. Let's focus on the here and now. And that involves getting past Alexander Lauritsen and Kevin Nielsen. This is going to be an amazing story, right? Kevin Nielsen has been our star newcomer of this season, along with Gononzo Tasdalen. And Nielsen has had such a ray of confidence. He won at Mid-Ohio, has always been in and around. The minor mistakes here and there have compromised his big championship charge. Let's see how he faces against rejuvenated Alexander Lauritsen, who, if I remember correctly in Imola, he was superb. This is going to be a stunning battle, but Lockwood, luckily for him this time out, slightly shorter grid, so he's able to fight back and get to the bubble positions even faster. But I wonder what he'll be going through right now. How many rounds has it been, Peter, since he's had some sort of contact or something all the time?
Well, really, it goes all the way back to round 2 at Zolder, when he basically won from pole position. It was not a cruise, but it was certainly uninterrupted, and it just showed you the pace that Brian has. Brian, one of the drivers in the grid here, who races in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup and holds or held a World Championship license. So really a top performer, and yeah, just has not had the run of luck at all, and it's just continued here at Brands Hatch. But as you rightly point out, Soumil, normally we would have more cars than 19 in a heat race. Normally we would have well over 20. But that's good news for Brian Lockwood. That means that he can fight his way back into the top 10 and progress to the feature automatically. But you've got to think that he wants to get into the top 10 and well into the top 10 and make sure that he's not starting too far back in the feature to make an impression.
And the important part with this one, Peter, is that if Brian Lockwood qualifies in the midfield after finishing, let's say, somewhere around P7, P8 in this one, if that happens, he's in some more trouble because he's had that sort of bad luck with people in and around him in this championship. That midfield is where things are the most tight and the most chaotic. That is where he does not want to be. So for Lockwood right now, qualifying isn't the issue. It's qualifying as high as he possibly can. Track limits, by the way, being a bit abused here, Peter.
Yes, there's track limits are being abused, and also grass limits being abused as well. Lauritsen using everything and more. It's so easy to do there on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. You're really trying to carry as much corner speed as you can. It's a wickedly difficult corner, and then you head up the Cooper Straight and then around Surtees, named after John Surtees, who the late great John Surtees, who was the only man to win the World Championship on motorcycles and in Grand Prix in Formula 1 as well. So really a legend. Should have been knighted a Sir but never was. One of the great shames of racing history, I believe.
Exactly, and I wonder how much more Surtees could have won had he stayed with Ferrari for longer. That's a topic for tomorrow, because Alexei Nazov, another self-inflicted mistake for the Urano Esports driver. He's an ace behind that car, very fast in the real world, now unfortunately making that minor error, which he will bounce back from. But after Dylan Burst tries to make a move on the outside of Alexander Hetmank. Bravery builds, Peter. Have you seen them off here today near Brands Hatch somewhat?
Oh, well, I tell you what, Dylan Burst doesn't need any of those. He's got the Antipodean tenacity in spades, does Dylan Burst. He races Hyundai XLs in his native Queensland, and well, I think that gives you all the bravery pills you'll ever need, being able to survive in that type of motor racing as well. But he's just made a bit of a block pass there on Hetmank going into Surtees, but Nezov spotted the opportunity. Great opportunist driving from the 33 of Nezov in the red and black Urano Esports Porsche. Urano Esports Porsche hanging it out around the outside, but Dylan Burst keeps the spot. Joe just has a massive slide on the exit, and now Hetmank's about to lose 3 places in as many corners here, because that's the 57 of Mikael Jensen making a move here down Dingledale into Sheen Curve. And through he goes.
Yeah, Matthias mentioned that as Peter, but not an issue. Jensen still coming up with an impact instantly. That's not the impact you want to make if you're Alexei Nazov. I said a minute ago, he's an ace behind that car. He made a stunning move to prove exactly that, but shame for Alexei having that crash. Ah, poor man. He has to bounce back from this one now.
Yeah, hopefully he can bounce back, for no pun intended there. Okay, well, there might have been. For poor old Alexei Nezov, very typical crash at Stirling's, just trying to use every bit of room on the entry to the corner, puts it on the grass, and he was a passenger from there. It might be that he was actually got already... No, he doesn't get it on the way in through Sheens, but just touches a wheel on the curb, on the grass, and through he goes. Now, I do apologise there to Matthias Jensen. I hope he doesn't feel offended me calling him Mikael Jensen, who's he's an LMP2 star, races at Le Mans. So,
yes!
Oh my goodness! Oh, dearie me! Well, this is good distraction. Kevin Nielsen holding the inside line, and Alexander Lauritsen trying to hang it all the way out there. Oh, this is never good. This never works. Oh, dear.
And it does.
Oh,
and it
somehow.
Does. Can you imagine this?
Look at Coiter. Look at the cutback. Here he goes. He gets the wider line, and that's what the inside of a Porsche looks like. Down towards Clark Curve they go. They're going to go 3 wide into Clark Curve. This is a great recipe. Oh, dearie me. Look at Sam Coiter hanging it right around the outside here as well. Nielsen hugging the inside line to Paddock Hill. Now, going down the outside at Paddock Hill is so risky. So risky. And Lauritsen sticks it up the inside there. Still no contact. Fantastic stuff from these guys. Up towards Druids. They go nearly 3 wide again. Nielsen still got the inside line, but they can get the cutback now. Down towards Graham Hill Bend. And Coiter just gets past Lauritsen, but Nielsen hangs over from now. That is first-class motorsport.
How? How do you do that? I don't know. I am a man who's supposed to know the answer sitting in a color commentary role, but I can't tell you how they kept it clean. And I can't tell you how Sam Coiter had the cojones to go around the outside there and get the move into P number 2. Bravery, that's what's on offer right here. And Sam Coiter has developed into such a hardcore racing machine here. That got me on the edge of my seat, Peter. And the best part is, Peter, it's not done yet. 9 more minutes of this top 3 battle, and then these 3 move on to the feature race as well to fight on. So this is going to be very, very interesting. What happens now then? Lauritsen, by the way, is very good in attacking. So you might see him get on the aggressive, on the prowl, and get something into Druid's corner. Coiter is also more of the aggressor, but he's proven to be quite an astute defender at times. If they fight, all this does is help Kevin Nielsen go past, but something tells me they're going to be super close right about now. Look at this, how close they are.
I think they were actually bump drafting down the Brabham Straight there as well. Lauritsen's got the inside line, he's got the line on Coiter, but Coiter, if he can maintain the corner speed, he'll have the inside for Graham Hill Bend, and he does. That's very good racecraft there from Sam Coiter. But all this is, as you rightly say, Soumil, this has just allowed Kevin Nielsen to stroll ahead. And the thing is, yes, this is for first, second and third in the heat, but actually in the feature race, this is for first row on the grid, second row and third row. So if you're in the wrong end of this three-car pack, it really has big consequences for your grid position.
It does, exactly, and which is why you see Lauritsen going for that send on Sam Coiter, because he realizes one move made here is 2 positions gained on the starting order of the feature race, and that's where you have drivers like Gnonzo Tasdalen. That's where they compete, like Quinton Violate. So, and Maxime Ramstein as well. So you want to get those positions in, and it could be done slightly easier if you made the pass on Sam Coiter, who is quite a defender. Look at this one, Coiter brushing off the lines, and what I love with Sam is that he's closing off the lines at the right moment. So he's leaving enough room initially, but then he cuts it off at the right time. Not too late, not too aggressive. And this is good, predictable racing. And that's what you want to see. You want to see them keeping it clean, knowing their experience. Pretty sure they will.
Let's hope so, because it's been just a superb battle up to now. Lauritsen has Lauritsen about to deliver a dive bomb there, and Coiter shut the door early. But that could have been a nasty one there as well. But really tough racing, and we've got a car off. It's a 155 of Hendrik Lichtenhagen going off at Paddock Hill Bend. Got back going again. This is our Alpintech.com replay. We get up. Whoa! Big wiggle there. Oh. Now that barrier, it just sticks out like a bad smell. It just lingers there, and that little. Oh, God, miss it. That little sticky out barrier there has wrecked many a race car over the years.
You can single-handedly apportion a few £100,000 worth of damage bills to that one, that's for sure. That is and then the countless ones on the sim as well. But let's hope that these guys don't get into a similar trap. But as you mentioned, Peter, it is getting easier right now for Kevin Nielsen. You give him the slightest bit of window, and he will take it. He will just run away with it. In only a lap or two, he's pulled out a gap of 1 second. And it's amazing what kind of composure he's got. But I'm surprised that there's nobody challenging Dylan Burst right there. He's having a quiet race of his own for Veldeval Sim Racing. I expected that he'd be part of that heated battle, but it's kind of easier for him, right? Staying a bit more calmer, a bit more composed. No need to stress out your mind so much early on in the race. And the qualifying position isn't that bad too, so it kind of works.
Yeah, I think Dylan Burst has had a super drive here. He's made some good steps forward and not got involved in incidents when others have, and that's exactly what you need to do, just to keep logging up the points. And yeah, good start to the evening for Dylan Burst in the 68 car for Vendeval Sim Racing. His teammate at Vendeval, Max Esterson, will be taking his first competitive laps at Knock Hill in the David Leslie Trophy in a few weeks. Now, Gilham Pipers for Optimal Sim Racing, he has come a cropper at Paddock Hill Bend, and loses it quite early actually. But luckily doesn't hit the barriers. That's the main thing, so you can keep going. You just never know what can happen in this type of format. It's so frantic that we've seen it so many times, haven't we, Soumil, where you'll have the kind of cars in 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, they'll all crash into each other and go off, and we'll often get someone pinching a spot at the very last moment. So you've got to keep the car rolling, even if it's not going well. You never know what could fall into your lap.
Yeah, I call it the 7-minute marker, the golden 7-minute window, where at that particular moment, all hell just breaks loose. Sometimes. It just happens. Somewhere along P6 to P10, they just start to feel the ground shaking underneath them. But now, Coiter will be feeling that, because Lauritsen has made a send down the inside at turn number 1. This is interesting. He found his moment, Peter, and he struck at the right time. That's not the most conventional place to get it done at turn number 1, but he has. Normally you would send it at Druids. Not so much for Lauritsen then.
Yeah, very, very good move there from Lauritsen to get it sealed up, because there's quite, as we saw, Coiter a few times has taken the outside groove, almost like the motocross berm, and kept the inside for going down the hill to Graham Hill Bend, the left-hander. So really good that Lauritsen knew that was coming and just shut the door early to make sure that Coiter had nowhere to go. Really good stuff from the Danish driver. Now a Danish one too. What it is about these about these Danish drivers: Kevin Magnussen, Jan Magnussen, Tom Christensen, Nicky Thiem, Marco Sorensen. I mean, you could go on all night with top Danish drivers. Soumil, I don't know what it is in the water over in Denmark.
I have to find that on. They're underappreciated in a way in the global motorsport sense. We don't quite seem to recognize Denmark as a place where we have great drivers. Usually you tend to look at England, Germany, France, but they've got some top names right here. In the esports side as well, right? And MacKay Jensen that you mentioned early on, Peter, he's Danish as well. Quite an ace in the LMP2s and P3s as well.
You forgot Scotland, Soumil.
Yes. So, now I have to say the names as well. That's a story for later on. Lockwood right now making big moves, but yeah, Scotland has Frankie, Nish, the likes. Lovely.
That was a cheap one on my part. I'm sorry. So yes, this has been an impressive recovery from Brian Lockwood after. Well, when you're nose into the barrier at Druids on lap 1, it's never conducive to a good result. But in the feature race positions at this moment in time, with 2 minutes to go. And we'll start from the 7th row of the grid. Could have been a heck of a lot worse.
Could have been, and it has become for somebody. That is the Impulse Racing car. That is Marco Jaeger again. Talk about having a bad day, Peter.
Yeah, there's not been a good day so far for Marco Jaeger. No, not at all. Just touched the grass, just a millimetre over. Problem is you're going so fast with quite a lot of steering lock on, and yeah, the car just goes and just loses it, just as Dylan Burst nearly loses it on the exit of Stirling's there. But Koiter's not going to let this one lie. He knows how important those positions are, and also just think he just loves a scrap as well. And look at this, oh my word, he's going for it again, Ricky Bobby style around the outside. That's very clever. He's going for the cutback here, trying to get the run. That's really clever racecraft there from Sam Koiter. Once again, Lauritsen spots what he's up to, thinking, right, I'm going on the motocross berm this time. Side by side they go down towards Graham Hill Bend. Nielsen looking in his mirror saying, you guys have been such great pals this race, you've let me go. And Koiter, he is not letting this one go. We're on the last lap. Who's going to take this?
I have no idea. The passing opportunities do seem to be limited. I'm actually going to go boring and say I think Lauritsen keeps it because the track is so hard to pass on. But also, Lauritsen, such a great defender for AXA Simsport. But if there's anything to spice it up, Peter, those orange wheels, they look frantic. Koiter is sending it, you know.
Oh, that's an inspired move there from Sam Koiter. Takes a little, you really don't expect driver to have a go there through Westfield to Dingledale and through Barry Sheen Curve they go, and Lauritsen's just hang on with enough space. And to be fair, Koiter, given the space, he could have very easily just nudged him onto the grass, but didn't, and that's fair play, and he's got it. Koiter's up, got the position there going into Clark Curve, and Dylan Burst isn't out of this as well. Dylan Burst is going to have a run. Kevin Nielsen, your winner in this opening heat. They rush to the line. Koiter's going to get second. Is it going to be Burst? Is it going to be Lauritsen? It's going to be Lauritsen. My timing screen is frozen. Well, visibly we saw Koiter go over, but looks like Lauritsen's just edged out Dylan Burst and no more. What a finish.
The difference was 200ths of a second, guys. And you know the best part? There are going to be 3 more races coming up. Don't leave us. Oh boy, this is going to be awesome, isn't it? I love how this championship spoils us, Peter, every time. And just in the instant we come in, bang, you get a classic thriller. Then you have 3 more of them. How good is that?
It's top, absolutely top class motorsport, whatever way you want to look at it. And you don't need private yachts in Monaco for good racing. Come here to Brands Hatch with some Porsche Cup cars. So what an opening heat of the meeting, and well, who knows what we'll get in heat number 2. A lot of the big names through into the feature race: Kevin Nielsen, Alexander Lauritsen, Sam Koiter, Dylan Burst, Matthias Jensen, Alexander Hetmank, Lewis Ward, Henrik Lichtenhagen, Brian Lockwood and Justin Rem, all making their way through to the feature, and that's confirming there as well. A few changes at the end there, actually. In fact, Alexei Nezov edging his way in at the very end there as well, so he was right on the bubble battle. and gets his way through so he can go and make himself a cup of tea now and enjoy the rest of the racing before the feature. Gunonzo Tastellan will start on pole position for the second heat of the meeting, with Pascal Costa joining him on the front row of the grid. Cenk Intioglu will join Maxim Ramstein on row 2, with Marcel Jochheim and Quentin Violati on row 3. Row 4 will be Camille Grabowski and Rebecca Pauline, with Nick Schulte-Wisserman and Oscar Wilkins on row 5. Nick Harwood and Vince Peters will start on the 6th row of the grid, with Bastian Matler and James Parkler on row 7. Martin Spalek and Nelson Costa de Souza will start from the 8th row, with, David Ward will start from 17th on the grid. SP Stewart is not taking part, shall we say, Soumil? Would that be fair? I hope not.
I doubt that, Peter. To put it simply.
That would be a story. One of the stewards jumps into their Porsche and goes out onto the grid. It's one way of getting a bird's eye view of some of the incidents on track, though, I suppose. But now, look, you warned me of this before we came on air, Soumil. That fiercely forward car of Rebecca Pauline, the number 15, she's inverted her livery. It was yellow and black last time out, and it's now black and yellow. It's the Wiz Khalifa Special, and I have to say that car looks absolutely resplendent, and I'm sure we will get a good look at it throughout the race as well. So Gunonzo Tastellan on pole position on the predominantly purple and gold machine there, with his teammate Cenk Intioglu right behind him in the 8 car. How often do you see Maxim Ramstein starting from the 3rd row? Now we're about ready to go then. The lights are being prepared. And off we go. We are racing in heat number 2 here at Brands Hatch as they charge down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Absolutely perilous here. Very easy to get a bit of contact through there and end up in the gravel. A few cars running a little bit wide, but more or less okay. Into Druids they go. Quentin Violati very late on the brakes there. They go through 2x2. It's the Noah's Ark corner here at Brands Hatch, but it's a brilliant start from Gunonzo Tastellan, who's well and truly got the whole shot.
Indeed he has, and they were going 3 wide at the back there at the very start. I can't tell you how they kept it clean that way. And you mentioned early on, Peter, harder work right now, but Pascal Costa is in second. Rebecca Pauline is falling back just a little bit. Ramstein still in P4, so the hard work for him begins right about now.
Well, I tell you what, a brilliant piece of car control there from Rebecca Pauline, just coming up into 30s. Don't know if there was contact or if she just missed her braking point, but had a big old slide, kept it out the grass and kept going and didn't actually lose too many positions. So good stuff from Rebecca, but Tastellan leads and Maxim Ramstein has made his way up into second, so the Dutchman has really been on the charge in these opening laps. Watch out there for the number 96 of Camille Grabowski, the ARA Porsche Cup champion from the previous season. And, well, Quentin Violati, he's... could we say he ruffled a few feathers last time out at Nürburgring? Would that be fair?
I think it would be fair to say so. There were... just calling a spade, there were many drivers not very satisfied with the way he drove right there, taking out Maxim Ramstein right there at the very end. Ramstein was about to have a very good result, as you see. Someone getting in the gravel at the back there. I suppose that would be... I think Bastian Matler was the one who got in the gravel, not Nick Schulte-Wisserman, but Schulte-Wisserman is in a big battle right now with the 169 car, and that ought to be... who is that? I can't remember the number at the top of my head right now.
199. I think it's Nick Harwood. Nick Harwood for Racecraft Esports.
Indeed, and it was Schulte-Wisserman, confirmation from Arjuna that he was the one on the gravel. My apologies for this one, but yeah, Schulte-Wisserman having to defend right now.
Nick Harwood might be the 169 if he's on his roof. Maybe that's your handy. If you run the number 69, they can still read your number when you put the car on its roof. It's always good to be recognisable out there on track. Of course, Justin Tipton was the master of that last season with his bright pink wheels. That, well, they were easy to spot. That's where the praise for them shall end.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Coulter continuing the tradition for the Racecraft Esports team. But what I really like, Peter, now on a livery standpoint, now that we're speaking about it, as the race has just slightly mellowed down, Team Anatolia, they've come into the PorscheSport Carrera Cup for the very first time with that beautiful honey gold and purple looking livery. And the best part is not only do they look good, but they are mighty fast. Gunonzo Tasdalen has shown his pace all the time, and Cengiz Şorlu has not quite been at the same level of Tasdalen, but has always had that raw pace, and he's always been somewhere around the top 10. This is going to be fun to see how he controls it when you've got the likes of Marcel Jochheim, a top contender in the AM category, and then one Quinton Violate at the back there.
Yeah, you got to say, big plus there for Marcel Jochheim to be in amongst all of the Pro Class guys. You'll see the AM class drivers, they've got 3 numbers in their race number. The AMs have 1 or 2. So yes, Marcel Jochheim right up well above from his class buddies at the moment, as we see big Nelson Costa de Souza put in a big hard move there, going into Westfield, and then down towards Dingledale they go. And de Souza has the attention of David Ward right behind him.
Indeed, yeah. Ward sending it to the inside line right here, using the camber. It's good to see that 2 cars can survive here in a corner like this one, Peter. Good to see them battling right now. And Ward gets the cut back in this instance. So, will he have the better run? Costa de Souza, very smart by the way, cuts off the lines at just the right time. So Ward is suffocated in order to go to the outside line now. That's not the smartest move in the world, but if you're someone like David Ward, you make it work. Outstanding!
Oh, well, brilliant stuff there from David Ward. He did have, you're right, he had such a good run out of Clark's, but Costa de Souza shut it down before he could really get the gallop on. But David Ward around the outside at Druids and using that, and the hip check there going into Graham Hill Bend. That's been a really popular spot for overtaking, setting it up around Druids. Round Surtees they go, and look at Costa de Souza on the berm, and they tangle, and de Souza's in the wall. De Souza is in the wall. Oh dear, and they just ran out of space. Let's have a look. Soumil, what's your call on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it had to spill over at some point, and sadly Nelson Costa de Souza running out of space, running out of real estate here at Brands Hatch. Look at this one from his visor cam, and when you're at this spot, Peter, you can't quite turn in, right? So Costa de Souza naturally heading out to the outside wall, and there's going to be big damage. That outside wall stings. I saw that early on RaceSpot TV in the Sim Racing Grand Prix broadcast at Bathurst. When you hit a wall like that one through the corner of your car, there's a very good chance you're going to be losing a lot of control over the car with your steering column being bent, and B, lots of pace on the straight line too. So for Nelson Costa de Souza, qualifying directly sounds a bit tricky.
Yeah, I got to think that was certain. Whoa, big moment there for Marcel Jochheim. Huge moment, in fact, that hangs on to it just about. Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Soumil. I think it seemed that maybe David Ward was maybe a little bit on the fierce side. Maybe this didn't leave any racing room, and they had given each other racing room up to that point. But, you know, when you're racing this close, it can happen. It'll be interesting to see what the stewards at Simpower decide on that one. And that's been, I have to say, that's been a key part to how good the racing has been this season and last as well. Here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup is the fast action from live stewarding. As we've seen so many times, other race series in the sim world that don't have live stewarding, they have post-race stewarding, often doesn't work with the absolute quick action from the stewards. If there is a driver deemed to be responsible for an incident, they're sent for a drive-through penalty, and it's a proper penalty. And I think that setting that precedent for any move, not saying that that was one, that's up to the stewards, but I think that quick action is very important to the respect that we get here amongst the drivers in most cases.
100% Peter. I love the way the organisers have managed everything in this way. The track selection, the ease for the drivers, the live race control as well. Very prompt with everything. And you can't control everything, right? As race control, you can only take reactive action, and then you can make people understand that, right, this works, this does not work. But sometimes drivers do go over the limit. And sadly, David Ward right now also in the pit lane, serving his penalty for that aggressive move. And oh, he's actually missed his pit box, Peter. I almost uttered my words in the shock that happened right there.
Yes, a stop-go penalty there, I presume, for David Ward. So there you go. There's a case in point that any nonsense will not be tolerated, and that's how you run a series, in my view. To be blunt as that, it just makes sure that the drivers know that if you go for a move, absolutely, but be prepared to be punished if you cause an incident. So, and we've seen some really good racing so far, hard, fair racing, which is what we come to see here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. Oh, as you see, a little bit of a switch back there for Grabowski. Grabowski, a very talented kart racer, the man from Poland. So, someone who probably doesn't need too much sharpening of the racecraft.
Exactly. And here he goes to the inside line right now. That is going to be bold. That is risky. They make contact and Joachim gets shuffled back. See, this is what the Carrera Cup is. You make one error, there'll be not one, not two, three, four cars bouncing right on you. And Kamil Grabowski, under tremendous pressure from Oscar Wilkins, the pilot who flies Boeing aircrafts, is actually flying right now.
He is, yes. He's at the cockpit where he's obviously very comfortable, clearly. That's very cool, I like that. That's nice. 10 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch, and you can see the 15 car there of Rebecca Pauline, the black and gold fiercely forward machine. She's holding the last spot in the feature at this moment in time, but a lot of cars ahead of her, quite a few more cars ahead than behind, so, and they're all very close together. Now I'm going to bring up a phrase that we use quite a lot. Oh no, is that Joachim? It is! Marcel Joachim! Oh, agony for the former runaway AM-class leader, and he's got a lot of damage there.
What do I say? For Marcel Joachim, it's been such a shame. I think it's been a couple of rounds since Joachim has not had the best of luck. What's happened here for the Impulse Racing driver? Chased by the 45 of Vince Peters. Is there some contact? Not quite evident from this angle. We shall see, but for Joachim, real shame. In the AM category, that is a big hit. When you consider that Thomas Guldenlein, the AM category leader right now, is not competing this weekend, there could have been a big chance to close up on that gap, but this contact
oh yeah, big time. Yeah, the number 45 of Vince Peters getting into the back of Marcel Joachim. So this is it in real time, and
yikes.
Boink. Yeah, and the thing is, with the Porsche 911, it's rear engine, 4 litre flat 6, so it's quite a big engine, so there's a reasonable amount of weight hung out over the back wheels, and if you start to encourage the rear of the car to move, the kind of pendulum effect does swing the rear of the car around a lot. It makes a Porsche what it is. You get this amazing off-corner drive grip. That's why Porsche 911's made such good rally cars, is because when before rally cars went 4-wheel drive, they had all of the weight over the back wheels, which were of course the driven wheels. So really good for rallying, but also in circuit racing as well. But there are pluses and there's pluses and minuses to this layout.
Exactly. It's a driver's car, is what I'd like to put it this way. An Alcantech.com replay here of a similar incident involving Pascal Costa. So what's happened to him here? Similar corner here. Does he get tapped around, or does he tap Oscar Wilkins? I have a bad feeling of this one. Loses it all by himself. Those Impulse Racing cars, Peter, just having a terrible Sunday so far. Just no sugarcoating involved right here. It's just been bad, unfortunately.
Yeah, not going well. You're absolutely right. Just Pascal Costa there, just carrying quite a lot of speed there into Sheen Curve, and it's so blind. It's so difficult to pick your line through there. It's what makes Brands Hatch such an exciting circuit to drive. But as we come to the magic Soumil Arora trademark magic 7-minute mark, it's game on. It's all going to flip on its head again, obviously. And well, who would argue against it? Gonzalo Tastelin has been the leader since the off, but Maxim Ramstein has made his way through and is right on the back, right on the engine cover of Gonzalo Tastelin, who's really pushing. You can see the rear of the car moving around ever so slightly there. And I have to say that this is where, when you watch this back, I love watching these races back, and you know, you just can't, the way that the cars behave, you have to double take. And I often show it to a lot of people who are maybe more casual fans of sport or whatever, and they go, is this real? I go, well, the racing's real, but it's done in the virtual world. And I think iRacing software guys do a brilliant job of how the cars move around. It's so lifelike to what a real world 911 Cup car would behave.
You're so right, Peter. It's something that's off of debate right now. It's so realistic. I've got so many friends of mine as well. They look at it and say, well, is this real? My dad has watched years and years of motorsport throughout his life. When he watches a RaceSpot TV broadcast, he still has to ask me sometimes, is this the real one going on? Is this the virtual one? It's so realistic. That's the way it is. And I love it. I love how iRacing have done such a detailed job. And that commitment to improvement, Peter. Almost every single upgrade, there'll be certain cars being tweaked and tampered around with, whether it be minor improvements like the design of the cockpit, or even bigger things, rev limiters, how the tires behave, how the engine performs, that sort of stuff. iRacing's constant commitment to improvement is something that makes this simulator ever so better, and it's always raising its bar, raising its standard constantly, which allows us to have hardcore realistic racing like this one. And you see quite a few good drivers like Lauren Heinrich as well. He actually races the Carrera Cup Deutschland and I think is a past champion there as well. He is a constant member, he's a constant presence on the iRacing service. He calls himself a hybrid racer, and he also has the same opinion. It's getting a bit too close, and that's only for the better. If you call yourself a simulation, it's good to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah, and it's that. What I love about it is also that constant improvement. Is that every single update it just gets better and better all the time, and yeah, the guys do a super job. I don't think there's been a great amount of annual leave going on in the iRacing.com office of the last 18 months or so somehow. Now, Rebecca Pauline has moved up into 7th spot. She was in 10th, but there's of course a few cars have gone off in front, including one of them being Nick Schulte-Wisserman there as well, who now goes out of the transfer spots. So let's see what happens here. It looks at Graham Hill Bend. They lose it on the way in. Yes, and you just saw how the rear just started to overtake him and tried to catch it. But once that, again, that was a very typical example of a 911 crash. You just see the car starting to rotate. Am I going to catch it? Am I going to catch it? No. Round it goes.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a bit of a crazy day for the Urano esports cars, and Nick Schulte-Wisserman is such a brilliant driver. I mean, we only have to cast our mind back to the 24 hours on Nürburgring on RaceSpot TV a couple of weeks ago, and he was superb there, superb in this car. But when the car strikes, it can hit the biggest of names at any point in time. So it's not a big surprise to see even the biggest of drivers being caught out by mistakes like that one. But good on Schulte-Wisserman, still in that bubble position, only has to pass Marcel Jochheim, and it's funny or not funny, depending on how you look at it. Both these drivers having very, very similar heat races so far, both of them battling for that ever so important bubble position to get into the feature race directly. Their races have not even been mirror images, they are literally the same race, Peter.
They have, yeah, they both had thrills and spills. I mean, Marcel Jochheim was really putting on a giant killing performance in the AM class. He's actually still, after all of this, he's still second in the AM class. The only driver ahead of him is Nick Harwood in 9th position. They're a little bit further up the road, a couple of seconds up the road from this pack here with 3 minutes to go. But Jochheim trying to defend here from Schulte-Wisserman, who gets very, very cozy onto the back of him, and that's so fast there going into Westfield. And it's such a roller coaster, this circuit. It really is absolutely superb. You can see why drivers really revere this circuit on both 2 and 4 wheels. And what I love about it as well is that it's got proper corner names as well. None of this turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 rubbish. It's every corner has a story.
It could be worse. Could be turn 10A or 10B or 10.14 something something. There's Arjuna in our director's seat. He'll be laughing at that. We've had our fair share of debates about American tracks and their rather absurd corner name theories, but let's focus on the action right now then. But it's interesting, right? So Schulte-Wisserman and Jochheim, one in the AM category, one in the Pro category. Both of them have had seasons where they've shown a great degree of spark, but there's only been a couple of big results here and there. They need to go out there and get those big solid points results, because everyone watching, everyone competing knows how potent both of them are. It's just that case of knocking in those big results, isn't it? And the same can be said for, say, someone like a Quinton Violate too, Peter.
Yeah, and actually it's been a pretty quiet heat so far for Quinton Violate, but I feel that's exactly what he needed for the Frenchman. He's so quick that he doesn't. Oh, it's Jules Wisserman has just another look there into Westfield, nearly getting it done. But still, Marcel Yorkheim carries on, and as you can see, Marcel Yorkheim's car got a bit of damage on the front of it there as well, and he's still keeping Schulte Wisserman at bay. Coming around that really scary part of the circuit there, through Sheen Curve and into Stirling's, and it's so easy to run wide there at Sheen, particularly get on the grass, and then if you do that at the start of the race, you can then be a bowling ball going through to Stirling's with no brakes. It can be really scary going through there. Now we're trying to pick up where our leader is. It's going to be very close to see if we're going to get another lap or not. It's going to be very hard to tell. Oh, Schulte Wisserman has a big lunge, and actually Joachim has to give him room, otherwise they would have had an even bigger clash than they already did. Now, will Joachim, yeah, he says, yeah, let me back through, pal. And actually, I think Schulte Wisserman did so there as well. So, proper argy-bargy here.
Proper argy-bargy is what we love to see in the Simpower PorscheSport Carrera Cup. That's not been the case for Gonzo Tasdale, and his car is as clean as, what's something very clean and tidy? I would say a businessman's briefcase.
A whistle.
A whistle, clean as a whistle, yeah, that's the idiom I was looking for.
A whistle, well, you'd hope a whistle would be clean.
That's a disturbing thought now, isn't it?
Yes, as clean as a Japanese microchip factory. Yeah, they got to think they're pretty clean. But anyway, this Gonzo Tasdalen's number 5 car is as clean as that, and over the line he comes to win the second heat of the day here at Brands Hatch. Maxim Ramstein following home in second with Senkin Tsioglu third, Quinton Violate fourth, Grabowski in fifth, Oscar Wilkins sixth, Rebecca Pauline will start from the 7th row in the feature, qualifies automatically. Of course, she won the consolation race last time out at the Nürburgring, and we've said it before, I'll say it again, Soumil, for Rebecca, finally, when she gets a bit of the rub of the green, she can get those results.
Indeed, yeah, Rebecca Pauline very confident of their pace when she came into the championship. Finally, no bad luck in a race like this one. I hate to say this, I hate to bring this up, but sadly that's been the story of her season so far. Fingers crossed that nobody has that sort of bad luck, not even Pauline or Brian Lockwood or anyone for that matter. We want to see good, hard, clean racing more importantly. And this is going to be fun now. Consolation races, they may look hefty on the surface, Peter, but they've actually produced some great drama. They've actually been very clean, surprisingly.
Yeah, they have been pretty good, actually, in the most part as well. So, this is how they line up then for the consolation race. Hendrik Lichtenhagen and Marcel Joachim on the front row. Gavin Halls and Vince Peters on row 2, with Matthias Burke and James Parker on the 3rd row of the grid. Jaime Fierro and Bastien Matler start on row 4, with Martin Donati and Martin Spalik on row 5. Clement Andriot and Nelson Costa de Souza are your 6th row. And on row 7 is Gilheim Pipers and David Ward. And finally, we have Marco Jaeger starting in 15th position on the grid. So the odds are a little bit more friendly here, actually, Soumil, in this consolation race. 20 minutes the distance, and 10 cars go through from 15. Actually, those odds aren't too bad. So even if we do have a high rate of attrition, there is a lot to be said for keeping the car rolling.
There is, yeah. You can get in there if you keep it clean, right? That's easier said than done considering the quality of the grid right here, but when it gets really intense, sometimes you do see it spill over. Thankfully, the rate of attrition has been decent in consolation races. Let's see what this one has to offer today.
Let's see then. You can see Gavin Halls there in the PorscheSport.com car. Gavin, the lead instructor at the international circuit at Bahrain, and unfortunately was there on the day when Romain Grosjean had his big accident. I think he's certainly had easier days at work, than that particular date, but thank goodness it was a happy ending in the end. So looks like we've got most of our cars coming to the grid now. We've just got a couple more to join us, and we'll be ready to go here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup Consolation race. And the consolation is top 10 get to go through to the feature. The lights are being prepared, revs are rising, and we will be racing here at Brands Hatch. It's a really good start there, actually, from Gavin Halls in the 38 car. Can he make a move into turn 1? Oh, goes tight into Paddock Hill Bend, and big contact there as well. And Lichtenhagen goes hard on the defensive there as well. Marcel Joachim a little bit shoved out to the outside there as well. But Lichtenhagen leads, and Gavin Halls up into second position.
Indeed, yeah, the PorscheSport driver finally getting on the good side of the green. Halls in second position, attacked by Marcel Joachim, remember, a top contender in the AM category. He also has a big rival in Henrik Lichtenhagen right there fighting against him. So this is going to be a compelling battle right down to the L. But now, Halls goes to the outside line.
Oh, it goes to the outside around Hawthorns, and then down towards Westfield they go. And, it's absolutely nose to tail going through there. Down Dingledell for the first time, and this is where it can get very spicy because the tyres aren't quite up to temperature yet, and it's a big slide for Gavin Halls. He's onto the grass and has to back out of it to try and continue his race into Stirling's. Drops down the order to 6th position, with Martin Donati right behind him now as well. And we've got a few cars off. That's Martin Spalik off. Clemo Andriot as well, I think, in the 137 machine. Oh, dearie me. Chaos here in the opening lap.
So, who said racing was a non-contact sport? When it gets to a race like this one, you can certainly count it at the top of the list for contact sports. Again, that's my prediction of having a clean race thrown out of the window straight away because of all the crazy action that we saw. A Rankconnect.com replay here, and Nelson Costa de Souza just gets bumped nastily at the back.
I think he got nerfed there, would be nerfed
More
off
accurate
into the gravel. Yeah, poor old Nelson Costa de Souza. He's been in the wars, and you see Spalik, again, Martin Spalik, not an enormous amount he could have done about that. It's Gilham Pipers goes for a big lunge into Stirling's. Piper's in the yellow and black car there, goes to take a gap that's probably not there, and Spalik getting turned around. But as we can see, a lot of those cars, yes, they got involved in a little incident there, but the cars still with bodywork more or less where it should be. So carry on, because with 15 starters and 10 going through to the feature, you can still keep going and still sneak a spot in the feature. You just got to make sure you're still in the game. He's got to move for the lead here. Looks like Marcel Joachim's wanting to avenge his disappointment from the heat race. Started so well, and doesn't quite get it done. Lichtenhagen really opening up the taps along the Brabham Straight and still keeps the lead.
Indeed, this is proper hardcore action, and now Matthias Berg looking for something on the inside line. They're all seeking for answers. They're all seeking for that one big move right here at Brands Hatch. But it's a track that's not so giving in that aspect. So you've got to keep trying. Got to keep making sure that the other driver is pressurized enough into making that heavy mistake. And that can happen,
It can so easily. Yeah, so easily here. Particularly at a circuit like Brands Hatch, where it really takes a lot out of you, but plenty of time to go in this consolation race. Joachim takes another look into the very fast right-hander of Hawthorns, up towards Westfield, the corner, not the shopping centre, and then down the hill towards Dingledell. And that is a real, you got to hang on. These cars do have a rear wing the size of a piece of scaffolding, but actually the aerodynamic grip is not that high. It's mostly mechanical grip that this car has. So when you're going through somewhere like Dingledell, you really are hanging on the very edge of grip. Now, I want to talk about Gavin Halls. He's got up into 5th position. He did drop back to 7th after that incident on lap 1, but he's really rallied hard here, Soumil.
I'm not surprised, Peter. Gavin Hall's had potential top 3 pace in his heat until he had that accident, remember? So I wouldn't be surprised to see Gavin Hall's in the podium positions. But first, a big lunge right there from Matthias Berg on Marcel Jochheim. That, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be for second place. To the outside line goes Berg right now. He has no choice. That is smart defending there by Jochheim. Coming back to Gavin Holtz, if they continue to fight like this, for Holtz, his job will become a lot easier.
Yeah, well, it is making his job easier because he's right back on to the leading group once again. It's Gavin Halls, of course. Gavin, a former Formula Ford racer, so he'll know all about racing here at Brands Hatch. In fact, I believe it's his manager's son used to ask him to kiss his lucky egg, like Sanka did in Cool Runnings, which is actually interesting because Gavin's teammate in PorscheSport, Chris Walsh, is an international bobsleigh racer, so they have something in common there. Go kiss my lucky egg.
Kiss my lucky egg. I wouldn't have expected to hear something like that, but hey, if it works for them, why not? Right now, they're making their own luck at this stage.
It worked for Cool Runnings.
Exactly.
It worked for them. Sanka's lucky egg. But yes, back. Is definitely back on the heat here. Is Gavin Halls, and without throwing him too far under the bus, just a little bit, he's actually been taking some lessons from. I will keep who he's been taking lessons from quiet, but let's just say they were in the top 5 of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup this season. So gone to the very top of sim racing for. So even what is it they say? You can teach an old dog new tricks.
Exactly. They've been constantly adapting, learning it. If sim racing forces you to do that, right, always keeps you right on the very edge. Good stuff, isn't it?
It is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And of course, I wonder, Soumil, where, of course, this car that we're looking at on screen, this Porsche 911 GT3 Cup machine, this is, of course, of the previous 911 model, and it's just been replaced by a new 992 Cup car, which has now had its debut in America. It's been in the Benelux Championship in Germany and France, and will be in the Super Cup very soon as well. So I wonder when it will make its way over into the virtual world as well, because it's quite a different car. It's a bit more of a baby GT3 car, because it's got a little bit more aero, it's a little bit wider track as well, it's lighter, a bit more power. So yeah, it's a different beast to this, from what I understand. But you can see Jochheim, he's very good down there into Clark's, but Lichtenhagen actually making a nice kind of late apex there and getting on the gas hard and defending his position into Paddock Hill.
Indeed, and you have to do stuff like that right now heading into Paddock Hill, when everyone's getting a bit too excited. What's happened here to the 102 machine of Gülhem Pipers? Having a bit of a crazy day so far. Self-inflicted, Peter? Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, well, it's as long as you're not in the barrier, that's the main thing. I tell you what, anyone who says they haven't made that mistake before, they are lying, Soumil.
Exactly. It's such a common one with the 911 GT3 Cup car and at Brands Hatch. But first, a move for the lead, by the way. Marcel Jochheim, he was under attack a minute ago. Now he's creating out a counter-attack of sorts. Goes to the inside line, and look at this. Lichtenhagen goes to the outside. Matthias Berg right there. He's playing it rather sneakily, because for a second I thought that he would be getting past both of them, but still stays in P number 3. So Peter, when do you reckon this order changes, or rather, do you think that it will ever change?
Oh, I think we can guarantee that it's going to change at some point. How is it going to change? Well, goodness knows. I really don't know. And I wonder when's Gavin Hall's going to make his move, because he's caught back up to this leading pack quite quickly. And he's on the headlight flasher as well. He was maybe looking for the cigarette lighter and hit the wrong button there, possibly. Now look at this. Number 138, Matthias Berg now getting a nose up the inside there of Jochheim. Jochheim's got to try and get on that late apex, get the power on, and yes, defends well into Graham Hill Bend. But then the door is left open for Surtees. Such great Brands Hatch racing here. Matthias Berg, he's going to try and hook on the inside line here. He'll have the outside line now for Hawthorns, and this has allowed Gavin Halls again to get a bit of a run here as well. But is there any room? That's the thing. There's so many cars in front here that trying to find your gap is not straightforward, because there's not one but 2 or 3 cars in the way.
I think the motto for today, Peter, has been, if there's no way, you make your way past. That's the way these guys have been racing today so far. Intense is the only word that can come to mind. That mini battle that we saw there between Lichtenhagen, Jochheim and Matthias Berg, they were going into spaces that I haven't seen guys go into for a fair bit right now. So when the intensity gets really high, you get to see stuff like this one. Gavin Halls, by the way, quick update on him for the PorscheSport team, hasn't quite been able to make a move past, and I wouldn't quite blame him, because up ahead, Matthias Berg, Marcel Jochheim and the likes, very hard drivers to pass.
Yes, they are, and they're showing that, aren't they? They're really showing some really excellent racecraft, not allowing the drivers behind any kind of look at all. Tell you what, this has been a superb drive from Henrik Lichtenhagen. He's led from the start of this Consolation race, 10 minutes into it, and just gone past the halfway point. And, you know, you might think, well, all of these guys are in the Consolation race, so who cares? Every single spot is another spot on the grid here. So, you know, if you're Henrik Lichtenhagen, you're starting 21st. If you're Gavin Halls, you're starting 25th. Now, these things do matter in the feature race.
They do, qualifying positions eventually, and considering how crazy it can get in feature races, you just want to maximize your chances, want to put yourself in the best position possible. This one is where you can do just that. We're getting to that mark, Peter. We're getting to that 7-minute marker. That's when things will really start to get wild, I suppose.
Yes, I think so. That magical 7-minute mark, and these guys are just all in one very, very rapid train. As whoa, Jaime Fierro having a big old moment there coming out of Sterling's, but Jochheim's going to have another go as well on Lichtenhagen. We've seen Lichtenhagen. Look at that, Lichtenhagen. I tell you what, he must be a motocross racer, because he just puts it out in the berm and gives it a big handful of throttle there as well, and keeps the line. Lichtenhagen has clearly practiced that line many, many times, because in a textbook that would be seen as wide, but it's not. He's making it work every single time.
Exactly. Lichtenhagen now makes a slight error, and Marcel Jochheim says, Danke, I'm going to get there to the outside line. But amazing how the Panda Racing team car is just able to smartly block off those lines, and behind it's the Volanti cars that are getting impatient, and then there's the PorscheSport machine. There is a lovely comment in our live chat saying, is this train simulator? Well, the coaches, they're about to get derailed and they're going to change their order rather soon.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Full marks to whoever made that comment. Love it as well. This is a full-on, whatever the German equivalent is of the Shinkansen, because it's a very, very fast train that we've got here.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely superb. We've got 20 litres and 30 cylinders in this front group, and we've got nearly 2,500 horsepower in this leading group as well. So it's quite a freight train. And it's the Monaco Esports car of Bastian Mattler pancakes into the wall hard on the exit of Sheen, and oh dear, and just nearly takes the 69 of Marco Jaeger with him for good luck.
Yeah, and Bastian Mattler, such a shame. He was doing so well, and he's out of the bubble, Peter. He's in P number 11. As it stands, he won't be going into the feature race, but Marco Jaeger will be. Bastian, he's such a likable personality. Such a shame to see him in that position, but more on that later. More on that later, because this battle is going crazy. Lichtenhagen still not lost the position, but now Matthias Berg is attacking Marcel Jochheim. This is crazy. Remember, both the drivers in the AM category. This matters quite a lot. What is that? Vince Peters, what a save!
Oh my, I bet you his tone of voice is the same, Soumil, after that one. Goodness me, that was a huge moment. Oh, and contact there again. The number 138 of Matthias Berg just getting a little bit of a charge there from Jochheim, and Gavin Halls up into 4th place now. So this is interesting. Gavin Halls just sat there, waited for almost the inevitable to happen, and moving his way forward, and all the while Lichtenhagen has gone. He's opened up a 1.3 second advantage with a little over 5 minutes to go, and that is a very handy advantage indeed, specifically when we've seen these cars glued nose to tail all race long. But if I know Gavin Halls well enough, Soumil, I know that he just can't resist ascend. He just loves it too much. You know, he will not be able to sit here forever. He will make a move at some point. It's just a matter of when rather than if. And oh, he was about to make one there. And Matthias Berg says, I know your game as well, Gavin Halls. I'm going to shut the door hard before you have a go.
It's like Matthias Berg is one of those agents in the Matrix. He knows every move that you're going to take, but he's one step ahead of it, so he'll be able to dodge the bullets instantly. That's what he's doing right now, because Gavin Halls, he sends it. You're right, Peter. When he sends it, he is so good at it, but they're blocking it off so well. That is the good part for Matthias Berg. It's an interesting position for Halls to be in. It's a sandwich. Halls is between Berg and Vince Peters, two simracinglovevolante.com cars. I got confused with the name last season. And now, I wonder whether there will be some sort of pressure from behind that could allow Matthias Berg to just eke away and focus more on Marcel Jochheim.
Well, we'll see how these next 4 minutes are going to shake out. Absolutely superb, top-class racing. If you think the Consolation race is just some sort of relegation zone, think otherwise, because this is it is definitely not. It is first-class motor racing, and well, Hendrik Lichtenhagen, much like Rebecca Pauline last time out of the Nürburgring 2 weeks ago, flawless drive at the front and under a lot of pressure with a swarming group of cars very close behind for most of the race.
Exactly. That's the kind of action that you inevitably get every single time in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. Keeps you hooked on, keeps you entertained, and the best part is there's one big one coming right about, 5 odd minutes from now, Peter? That's going to be a lot of fun to see which way it goes. But let's take a look at this narrative first, right? For Gavin Halls, you know, and he knows as well, that he's got pace for getting perhaps a top 10 result in the entire race. Not just this one, but in the entire feature race. It's just shenanigans and bad luck and just being in the wrong place at the wrong time that's compromised him. At this moment in time, what goes into your mind? How do you keep that composure, knowing that you have the ability to do it, but you just have to make and force an error of sorts from someone like Matthias Berg, who's been impenetrable so far?
Well, it's hopefully we'll get to ask him after the race and find out, because I wouldn't know. I would never be in this leading group. It is just that's why it's so good to marvel over motorsport at this level, because that's what gives us the respect and the admiration of a driver. And well, at the moment, Lichtenhagen, well, he had worked up a 1.3 second advantage, but that's gone. Marcel Jochheim has he's destroyed that gap. It's now down to just a quarter of a second, and well, you don't almost really need the timing screen. It's not very much. That's less than a car's width.
Exactly. So it's going to break loose in a few minutes. I think it's going to get a bit ridiculous, a bit too exciting to watch right here. So don't mind if Peter and I go on the extremely high note scale of our voice. It's just the racing, right? We're spoiled for choice, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah, I would say normally we both have pretty deep voices normally, but they do, yes, the octaves do go about 15 or 20 times higher when there's just a move about to be deployed. So looks like, yes, we're going to get one more lap. So Barney the Flagman will be preparing the white flag at the moment. I did see on Twitter earlier in the week, there is now the pace car driver on iRacing has been given a name as well. And for the life of me, is it Benny? I can't remember now. Help us out, someone in the YouTube chat. This is
Benny. It's okay.
I think Barney's the flagman. We know that, but
yeah.
Benny. It is Benny. I was a good guess. Benny, the pace car driver as well, who has. I mean, he should be on the International Poker Stars tour, because you just cannot tell if he's happy or sad.
I think we'll grow into it. I think we'll grow into the name eventually. At this stage, it's we'll get used to it. I think that's the way.
Yeah, as long as they're in the Porsche 911 pace car, not this silly new thing that they've created. I'm not a fan of that at all. Anyway, Hendrik Lichtenhagen leads from Marcel Jochheim, and great to see so many different teams up here as well. We've got Impulse Racing in there, we've got Volante, we've got PorscheSport as well. Gavin Hall's in the 38 car. Jaime Fierro, a little bit distant from this group. He'll get through to the feature race in that blue car with the red mirrors. And look at this, the number 138, Matthias Burke. He is not done yet. He wants to have a go on Marcel Jochheim. A little bit of a duck and a dive and a weave there, but still Marcel Jochheim just defending enough as they come through Sheen Curve for the final time then into Stirling's, and oh no, be careful, number 45 of Vince Peters there, putting it on the grass on the exit of Sheen Curve, which is normally a recipe for disaster, but it looks like it's going to be Hendrik Lichtenhagen. One more corner to go, and it is going to be the number 155 of Hendrik Lichtenhagen wins here in the consolation race from Marcel Jochheim, Matthias Burke, the recovering Gavin Halls, and Vince Peters rounding out your top 5. Now, who is going to get those transfer spots? It's going to be the number 110 of James Parker, who gets that last transfer spot. And Bastian Mattler, that crash has proven absolutely critical. His night is over.
Take a deep breath and exhale. What a race this was, Peter. Amazing stuff.
Oh, yeah, really good, really top quality stuff from these guys at the front. Hendrik Lichtenhagen, your winner, under pressure the whole way through. Really superb stuff from the Panda Racing team driver. Marcel Jochheim in second with Matthias Burke rounding out the podium. Gavin Halls recovered to 4th position after being off earlier on in the race. Vince Peters was 5th, followed by Jaime Fierro, Martin Donati, David Ward, Marco Jaeger, and James Parker gets the last spot on the feature race grid. So unfortunately, Bastian Mattler, Martin Spalek, Clement Andriot, Wilhelm Pipers and Nelson Costa de Souza will be watching the feature race here on RaceSpot TV. But that, of course, is the other prize available in the consolation race. Soumil, of course, there's 10 spots in the feature race grid, but there's also 4 or 5 spots on the sofa to watch the race on RaceSpot TV, so it's not all bad.
Yeah, it's not all bad. It could be better if you are part of the race, but I think this is not a very bad place to be, and as I'm sure you will agree with us, our dear viewers, because this has been honestly super. I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not adding any extra spice on it. It really has been some awesome racing, and I'm sure you'll agree with us. And stick around for this final one. That is where it is all going to get bonkers. PorscheSport on the YouTube chat saying, we can't wait to talk all about it on the PorscheSport podcast this week. I can't wait to listen to you, Peter. That will be fun.
Well, I can assure you the PorscheSport podcast this week will be a very special one, because I have a brand new co-host joining me this week on the PorscheSport podcast. Hayley Edmonds, pit lane reporter for the European Le Mans Series and stage end reporter for the World Rally Championship. And I have to say, do you know who was most excited about it? I was very excited about this, Soumil, but my mother is the biggest rally fan on planet Earth. She watches every minute of every rally. And when she heard I was going to be working with a stage end reporter from the World Rally Championship, well, let's say she nearly burst my eardrum. She was that excited.
I can imagine, Peter. It's going to be a lovely episode, is what I'd like to say. It's good to have her on, seriously. And you have to bring out some of those rally stories. That's going to be such a listen eventually.
Yes, I think we can guarantee that there's going to be more any form of rally content that Hayley and I can wedge into the show will be wedged in. I can guarantee that, and of course that will be every single week on PorscheSport.com, the leading independent site for all Porsche news, motor racing, and otherwise as well. So do check it out. We've got lots of cool stuff on the way, including the run to the end of the season in this PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. As you can see, the drivers at the moment just putting in a couple of extra practice laps before we go into the feature race proper. A 30-minute feature race here, and this is where you're really got to have quite a bit of patience, because it's with a big packed grid, 30 cars, it's pretty busy going down there into turn 1. So, starting on the front row of the grid then, Kevin Nielsen will be your pole sitter, alongside Heat 2 winner Gunonzo Tasdelen. Sam Kuijter and Maxim Ramstein start on the second row, with Alexander Lauritsen and Senkin Thioglu starting on row 3. Row 4 is Dylan Burse and Quentin Violati, followed by Alexander Hetmank and Kamil Grabowski rounding out the top 10. Brian Lockwood will start 11th alongside Oscar Wilkins on row 6. Row 7 will be Matthias Jensen and Rebecca Pauline, with Lewis Ward and Pascal Costa behind them on row 8. Alexei Nezov and Nick Harwood start on row 9. Starting on the 10th row today, here in the feature race at Brands Hatch will be Justin Rem and Nick Schulte-Wisserman, and they'll be followed by Hendrik Lichtenhagen and Marcel Jochheim. Matthias Burke and Gavin Halls make their way through from the Consolation race to take the spots on the 12th row, and finally Vince Peters, Jaime Fierro, Martin Donati, David Ward, Marco Jaeger and James Parker round out your 30-car field here at Brands Hatch. Well, we've had 4 rounds so far here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup, and we've had 4 different winners. You think we can make it 5, Soumil?
I think we can, and I would love to see winner number 5. This is just going to be awesome. I just love the unpredictability of this championship. Bring it on. It's Brands Hatch. I get a feeling that Tasdelen may just have the edge today.
Well, that would be our 5th. Well, that's quite a call. Let's see if... Well, that what a story that would be to have 5 from 5, giving you a perfect impression of just how tight and how competitive this series is. And actually, I would add to that, Soumil, how good the choice of circuits is. But we're about to go racing here at Brands Hatch. The lights are prepared, the revs are rising. 30 cars, 30 minutes, and we'll be racing in the Kent countryside. Off we go. It's a rocket ship start for Kevin Nielsen in the number 3 car. Looks like he's going to make it into Paddock Hill Bend straight away. He does. A great start from Sam Kuijter up there to second.
Exactly, blocking off the lines quite well is Sam Kuijter, but Maxim Ramstein forcing the issue on the very first lap. He is up to P number 3, and no, one of the sim racing Loft Volandi cars spun around.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That's Matthias Jensen off, and so easy to get caught out there coming out of the exit of Druid. And whoa, one of the racecraft cars off in the background.
I'll quickly get back to who that really was, but that seems to be a biggie. All the racecraft drivers, such aces in this championship. Now, Maxim Ramstein pressurized by Lauritsen behind there. One of the impulse cars being caught up, and again, they were going 4 wide, Peter. That could never, ever end well, and it hasn't.
Sometimes 2 wide doesn't end well going through Sheen, so 4 definitely, 4 definitely doesn't. In fact, we're not even at Sheen yet. Goodness me, it's absolute chaos here. Oh no! Alexei Nezov shoulder barge to Rebecca Pauline there, but brilliant job for Rebecca to get back onto the circuit, not losing it, letting it loop around, getting the car onto the straight line, but hopefully she's not got too much damage there as well. But nevertheless, Kevin Nielsen and Sam Kuijter are away like a flash. Maxim Ramstein has made his way through with sharp elbows to 3rd, but he's got work to do.
He absolutely has. It's going to be a bit tricky at this stage. Dylan Burse under pressure from Quentin Violati. And let's talk about who's not made it in. Oscar Wilkins, a very good friend. He is out of this one. Not out of this one, but he's in P number 28. Nick Harwood for Racecraft Esports, Peter. How many times have we seen him involved in a lap 1 accident? And then Justin Rem and Matthias Jensen, the newcomer, in as well. Take a look at the Alkintech.com replay, and turn 1 is all that I have to say.
Yeah, it's oh, now that is a full-on nerf job there for the poor old 199 car of Nick Harwood. Here we go. Biff, see you later. And that was the 188 of Justin Rem. Not like Justin, actually, to be honest. That's not in character, but that's the typical, oh, dearie me. And Oscar Wilkins getting unceremoniously dumped off there by Kamil Grabowski in the 96 car. And just look how chaotic this is. You are in the middle of a bar brawl here. And oh, contact there for Rebecca Pauline. Just edges by and then wait for it. Ah no, we're still a corner early. Wait for it now. Alexia Nezer's going to try and stick it up the inside here at Sheen Curve. Over the curb, loses it, and yeah, unfortunately Rebecca Pauline pays the price for him, pays the invoice for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Rebecca Pauline calls foul about that, because Nazov went over the curb, testing track limits out a bit too hard. So Race Control will be having their look on that, but he still finds himself only in P number 12. No bubble, anything like that here. It's all about how high you finish and how many points you can score right down to the very end. But I'm interested, Peter, in that midfield. Just look at the collection of names. Violate, Lockwood, right? You put these two together, they've not had the best, most peaceful atomic reaction, let's put it that way. Then, Dylan Burst, Gonzo Tasdalen, Alexander Lauritsen. Then up again, Maxime Ramstein, whose race pace has been superb. He's not had the most outlandish, flashy race pace, but he's been very consistent. He, and then that leading pack of Sam Cotter and Kevin Nielsen. This always feels like an all-star race, but this does not.
Oh, it's Hendrik Lichtenhagen and David Ward both off. Oh, after such a good performance in the consolation race. And oh, Lichtenhagen just gets straight into the back of David Ward. Oh, dear me. This has been very, very... Oh. This has been really, really tough going so far in these opening few laps. And there's been a lot of drivers dropping down the order with various incidents. Some handing them out and some being on the receiving end, unfortunately. But goodness, yeah, the Simpower steward's room is going to be pretty busy at this moment in time, I would imagine. But so far, Kevin Nielsen and Sam Coiter out front at the moment. Now, coming back to Brian Lockwood and Quentin Violati. Interestingly, Brian Lockwood has already got past Quentin Violati, but and that didn't take very long. That's interesting. And well, Soumil, you and I have been, shall we say, privy to the virtual paddock discussion that occurs behind the scenes, and there's been some interesting dialogue between this pair. Shall we summarise it by saying they're not each other's best fan?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's a mistake from Violati.
After a mistake, yeah.
Whoa.
So Violati, so to give you a bit of a backstory, Violati has a style. Violati likes to be aggressive, he likes to be all out. There's no harm in that. Sometimes, right, when you are being so aggressive, when you are being so all out, there's a good chance that it spills over and you end up making contact. And Brian Lockwood was the unfortunate recipient of that at I think twice. Then at the round after that as well, we saw something similar. Then at Nürburgring, we saw Violati making contact with Ramstein and now Hendrik Lichtenhagen. You can hear the entire YouTube chat collectively groaning together. That's not what they're here to see.
No, and it looks like Marco Jaeger's had some sort of issue as well. Oh, yeah, that classifies as an issue. Goodness me, this gets tipped around by the 57 car of Matthias Jensen. So there's a lot of drivers who have been on the... Whoa! And Justin Rem, an issue as well. Goodness me, so there's a lot of drivers dropping out at the back of the pack. And oh no, so Rem loses it going down Dingle Dell, which is very easy to do. Loops it back off the barrier, and poor old Hendrik Lichtenhagen, well, this will give you an idea. Oh, what can he do? Oh, Hendrik, pour yourself a beer. Come and join us here on RaceSpot TV, and you can gloat as much as you like for being consolation race winner, because you deserve all those gloating moments and the beer as well.
Exactly,
maybe
that for Hendrik and for Justin as well. For poor old Justin Rem, he's never quite been able to get a proper start in this championship, but yeah, real shame for them. That's just the way it is. But we must move our eyes forward. Like Sam Bird's race engineer would say, eyes forward. Let's do that. Let's not dwell upon the accidents far too much, because that'll be a bit of a sad sight. Let's focus on this incredible battle. And Sam Coiter, Peter, it's amazing. He's still stuck onto the back of Kevin Nielsen, and let's be honest, coming into the season, would you have expected to see these two guys have such a dominant gap over the likes of Ramstein? Come on, keep it clean. That's such a shame. Nick Harwood, unfortunately, having an accident as well, and my heart pours out for both of them. It's such a sad one to see Oscar Wilkins and Harwood, two incredible gentlemen off the track, being involved in crashes like this one. Such a shame, Peter.
Yeah, that is a pity, and something you don't see very often is Kamil Grabowski. Oh, big moment there, going down Paddock Hill and can't get it slowed down. Is he going to end up in the barrier? Looks like it. ERA Porsche Cup champion, and then he's out the race. So, not something you see very often, Kamil Grabowski running that far down the order. So, Maxim Ramstein, this gap, for the last 10 minutes, has sat pretty steady around a second and a half between Ramstein in third and Koitert and Nielsen out front. So if we are going to get a fifth different winner, it needs to come from somewhere from Alexander Lauritsen or down, because of course Nielsen won on our opening round at Mid-Ohio, Koitert last time out at Nürburgring, and Ramstein at Imola, if my memory is off the top of my head.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. But considering the way the race has been going so far, as we see Dylan Burse taking a bit of a trip to the gravel, enjoying his time right there, I think it's very much possible, Peter. It's, you have to look for the right word for it. I think it's been over-aggressive. That's what's happening right here today. But that's what defines some other drivers from the guys that you see at the top. It happens. It comes up with judgment, with more experience, that you control your aggression quite a lot. That's the key to good racing. The guys at the top, they have done exactly that. I can't remember these guys ever having a battle in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. These top 5-6 drivers that had spun out really badly. So they know exactly what they're doing. You have a good, clean battle in really safe hands. So expect some quality racing right at the very top. And Dylan Burse already losing his patience. You want to see that happening, right? Dylan Burse versus Gunonzo Tasdalen. I like this. I like the sight of it. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is what we like to see. Dylan Burse, a really hard racer. A lot of really good racers in the Vendaval team. A lot of young guys with real-world racing experience, and use the sim to keep their competitive sharpness. And that's a big one for Nick Schultz of Wisserman. And that is at Stirling's. Maybe lost it at Sheen and then out at Stirling's. Let's get a look on our Alcantech replay. Coming through Sheen's, hits the curb. Oh, nearly has it, not got it. Bang. Oh, dearie me. And that was the end of that. Just thought, game over for Nick Schulter of Wisserman.
What could have been?
Well, put some scratches on a very nicely painted car as well. Oh, bang. That's quick through there too.
Exactly. Had you stopped the replay halfway through, that would have looked like the most beautiful slide, but sadly not working out eventually so well for Nick Schulter Wisserman. I hope he bounces back. He's a quality driver. You want to see him in a very good position. That's the thing with him. Right now, though, this duel starts on going, and I think we can bring back that comment again, Peter. Is this train simulator? Because Maxim Ramstein behind, he just holds them with such composure. And I love this factor about him, Peter. He may not seem like the most flashy driver. He may not seem too overly aggressive at times, and he may not catch the headlines. But Ramstein has this sort of maturity while driving that you don't see with many other drivers that makes him such a consistent fixture right at the very top. There's a reason why he took the championship to one very dominant Alexander team last year in the first season of the PorscheSport Carrera Cup.
Exactly, and he did so. I mean, maybe Alexander Teeb had a slight edge on pace, but Maxim Ramstein made up for it in being an absolutely constant threat all the time. And that's exactly what he's done here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup Season 2. And yeah, that's it. When you've got to think what it's like for the competitor. I mean, exactly. He just does not ever give an inch. Or just think, no, there's no off days. Like, you know, this, you could actually say that this is maybe a slightly quieter day by Maxim Ramstein's standard, and he's in third in the feature race. So, and that's kind of what you're dealing with. Of course, he was just couldn't have been more unlucky at the Nürburgring. Was hit a couple of times, but still, you know, still clocked a reasonable amount of points. So when we come to, of course, remember, folks, we've got a 7-round season. This is round 5. But of course, remember, the drivers drop one of their rounds. One of them doesn't count. And that, of course, they drop their worst scoring round. So if you've not had effectively a bad round, it gives you can be really selective then. So that's where I think that could, you're right. So I think that could really play in Ramstein's favour when we get to the very end of the season.
Now, to spin this up, what do you drop if you're Brian Lockwood? There are so many, unfortunately, that have not gone in their favour. And while we focus on this top battle, we must remember, right, for Racecraft Esports, it's been so conflicting. They've got Sam Coiter just literally going all guns blazing, being the shining light. Lockwood sometimes having great races, sometimes having bad luck, as we see the Impulse Racing car, Pascal Costa make a move on Lewis Ward. But then you've got the likes of Nick Howard having such bad luck all the way through. So do you consider this as a good season? Do you not for Racecraft Esports? Conflicting a little bit.
Power in numbers, I would say. Having a good strength and depth, to use a really overused phrase. It's having plenty of good drivers. They've all kind of picked up the mantle. So there's always been one of those black and gold Racecraft Esports cars up the front every week. Now this has been a super drive from Gavin Halls. Of course, started 24th. And now up to 14th and really charging forward. Not a mark on the car. Not saying that's unusual for Gavin. I mean, it might be, but I'm not saying it. It is. But he's now all over the back of Lewis Ward in 13th. And if Gavin can keep this up, he can get another really strong result. Of course, had a top 10 in the opening round of the season, don't forget.
Exactly. He's a quality driver, top one, just as with so many other drivers, caught up in the shuffle, caught up in all the midfield drama that goes on. Happens, right? When you've got such a big grid with so many good drivers bunched up against each other with only so much real estate, you're bound to see some sort of drama happening somewhere. And we're getting that drama right here with Dylan Burst. And a word on Dylan Burst, Peter. I love how he's evolved. Last year he's a sporadic contender, there or thereabout on the outside, but now it's so common to see him right at the edge of the top 5 and sometimes even bursting onto it. I love how he's matured along with Sam Coiter. It's good to see our Season 1 drivers really evolve and become better versions of themselves right before our very eyes.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that Dylan Burst, of course, is still a young man, so he's got that very, very high rate of exponential rate of growth in ability all the time. Just gets quicker and quicker, which is quite a harrowing thought for his competitors, that's for sure. But still, Maxim Ramstein holding firm, but actually just dropping a tiny sort of 100th here, 100th there, and the gap is just edging out ever so slightly to Kevin Nielsen and Sam Coiter. And in fact, Maxim Ramstein's maybe now going to be looking in his mirrors at Lauritsen and Tasdalen, because Brian Lockwood not far behind either, because I think that might be who he's got to have his initial concern about, or his immediate concern about right now, because Coiter and Nielsen, well, they're checking out.
Yeah, they've had their day done. They're saying, right, you guys carry on, have a good time, we'll just settle matters on our own right at the very top. And I wouldn't mind to see that. I would love to see that one-on-one battle. I think we haven't seen a one-on-one battle, just only one-on-one battle since the start of the season, because they've always been some sort of cars. Maybe it's a 3-1, it's a 4-5, wish 5. I wouldn't say that I don't like it, but it's sometimes good to see only two drivers going head-to-head, toe-to-toe, fighting it out against each other. And it's not like we're missing out on anything either, Peter, because there's a big 4-way fight for P3 right here going on. And dare I say this, the stakes are just as high when you consider everything.
The stakes are very high indeed, yeah, with €250 for the overall champion. Now, Marcel Jochheim side by side here with Rebecca Pauline in the beautiful black and yellow machine. It just looks fantastic, that fiercely forward car. So we've got the Bumblebee, the Cherry Cola, and the Wiz Khalifa black and yellow edition. And backing it in there into Paddock Hill. Oof, I tell you what, there's been quite a few times tonight, Soumil, where Rebecca Pauline's had some massive slides and just hung on to them and avoided accident when others might have ended up sideways in the barrier. But Jochheim just getting the better on that occasion, but I feel that's not going to be their last duel of this race.
It isn't, and thank goodness for that. That's the crazy action that we get here in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup, and this dueling just never seems to end. These four guys will be keeping on going right down to the very end, and you get to see great battles in the midfield too. Luckily, no bubble stuff, nothing like that. It's all or nothing right here, so you get to see more dramatic moves in this case. Sometimes, yeah, they do spill over, but luckily for now, it has calmed down in that sense. But we are getting to the final 10 odd minutes to the race. And that is where this sort of battle, right? That's when you see the likes of Gononzo Tasdalen and the likes of Alexander Lauritsen. You see a sense of urgency within them. They desperately want to get to that podium. And even more so if you're Brian Lockwood, that big ticket, big result finish, Peter, is really going to be a big confidence booster for Brian if he gets to it, that is.
Yeah, that's going to be the key, isn't it? It's how this one pans out, and it's interesting because as soon as Lauritsen has a go at Ramstein, that really is any of these cars' chance of going for victory gone. Likewise, though, if Koitert decides to make a move on Nielsen, then that would have this, the same effect. It would draw it up, and I think both Nielsen and Koitert are aware of that. That's the thing is, what do you think, Soumil? If you're Sam Koitert here, it's just about half a second the gap right now. Nielsen's been so consistent, but so you see Ramstein going very defensive there to try and keep Lauritsen at bay. But do you think it's? I mean, I can't possibly tell if Koitert is sitting there comfortably or if he's hanging on by his fingernails. It's so difficult to tell. And if you're a Racecraft esports fan, you're hoping that he's comfortable there and he's going to make a move later on in the race, but it just feel like we're just waiting. We're seeing the pan simmering on the boil at the moment, but it's about to spill over. I get the feeling.
Yeah, that sort of feeling that you have, sort of a sixth sense that things are gonna go rather intense here. That's what I'm feeling right now, and I'm sure you are as well, dear viewers, because this is going to be stunning. And to answer your question, Peter, it's interesting. We don't have Sam Koitert streaming, so we won't quite be able to hop on right in there and check what he's feeling right now. But knowing Sam, knowing how composed he normally is, I think he'll be just fine. He'll be very comfortable in a position like this one. And if he actually is comfortable, what if he starts to go beyond that comfort zone? What if he challenges Kevin Nielsen and pushes for that ever so important move for the victory? What a sight will that be?
Well, and then that would mean, of course, Kevin Nielsen and Sam Koitert, they are in the position where they have the opportunity to be the first double winner of the season at round 5 here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. So, who's going to get the honour at the moment? Kevin Nielsen's doing absolutely everything right. He was imperious at Mid-Ohio, and really, I was about to say, is Brands Hatch a similar circuit to Mid-Ohio? I mean, it undulates a bit. It's quite tight. It's quite twisty. But both Mid-Ohio and Brands Hatch are so unique. It almost wouldn't be fair to compare them to any circuit, really.
Yeah, but I think you've got a point here, Peter. Even the keyhole is very similar to Druids Corner. I think it's a very similar track, just suiting Kevin Nielsen's momentum quite a lot. It's a trademark Kevin Nielsen track. Now, Brian Lockwood saying, Gononzo, my friend, it's been a wild ride sitting behind you. Now, I want to get ahead of you, and even if it involves making contact, so be it. Lockwood sending one, and Lockwood indeed moves up a position, but not without the shenanigans. He's lost almost control right there.
Oh, that's really tough stuff there from Gononzo Tasdalen. Fantastic. He does not say die. There was just a slither of gap there left, and you think, I'm not giving this up in a hurry. Little bit of a bump there from Dylan Burst, and that sort of catapulted Brian Lockwood ahead of Gononzo Tasdalen. He's thinking, oh, thanks, Dylan. That's just nudged me forward, and Tasdalen loses the spot. Is he going to have another go at Paddock Hill? They fly through. Nielsen leading just from Koitert. Koitert's nicked a couple of tenths out of him, so that's got even closer. Ramstein and Lauritsen have left the guys behind, so we're getting a few separate breakaways now. Now, if you're Ramstein and Lauritsen, can you bridge the gap up to the leaders? It's going to be a big ask.
It is going to be a big ask, but if they start to fight against each other, that gap will come tumbling down in the next 7 minutes. But they know that. Nielsen and Koitert know that. They're so experienced, they've spent enough time on the iRacing service. They know that this is not the time to scrap so desperately. Where it is the time to scrap very desperately right now, it seems, is between Ramstein and Lauritsen, but that is something for later because...
Gav.
Gavin Halls.
Oh, Gav, what has happened to the number 38 car of Gavin Halls? Is it Surtees coming around Graham Hill Bend onto the Cooper Straight and then coming into Surtees? It is an opportunity to overtake because there's so many different lines through here. Just sort of just kind of runs into the side of Lewis Ward there, gets turned around, and I think he's maybe got some sort of puncture or suspension damage maybe.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows which way it's actually gone for Gavin Halls right now. But if there's one thing in common, it's just that it's not ideal in any way whatsoever for Gavin Halls. Let's just hope that he's on the better side of Lady Luck coming into the next couple of rounds. But where luck does not matter, people are making their own luck, is in the case of Nielsen and Sam Coyton. So coming back to a question I was thinking about, sort of 15 odd minutes ago right here. Would you honestly have imagined, Peter, that in this stage of the championship, we would not be seeing someone like a Ramstein versus Brian Lockwood, which is what I thought would be the battle for the championship, but instead, we would be seeing Kevin Nielsen and Sam Coyton dueling it out for the race with such a big gap behind of it? I honestly had no inkling of this.
I certainly wouldn't have predicted the gap, that's for sure. They have really pulled away from Ramstein. And the thing is, it's not as if Lauritsen's been dive-bombing Ramstein every corner. In fact, Lauritsen he's allowed Ramstein to run the pace effectively, but Nielsen and Coyter have just simply been quicker. Particularly in the second half of the race, they've obviously managed their tyres well because they've been able to really pull away a lot in the second half of the race. And yeah, they have been. Am I surprised they're up the front? No. Am I surprised by the gap? Definitely, because these guys are all so close on pace, but it's just sometimes the way that you execute when it matters, and it's just been a little bit of a struggle for. But again, this is what we've come used to with Maxim Ramstein. We're saying he's having a struggle, but he's in third. Oh, big crash here. And Matthias Jensen parked on the circuit, and it looks by the tyre marks there that he's had a crash coming out the exit of Sheens. Oh, it just touches the dirt. Oh, just a little scrape. Nothing that won't buff out.
Yeah, it's baptism by fire for Matthias Jensen is what I'll say. It's his first race in the PorscheSport Carrera Cup. I'm sure he will adapt to it. I'm sure he'll grow. I'm sure he'll be a lot better. He's just getting used to it. I think we can give him that leeway this time on, definitely. I'm sure he's going to be a lot better in the next couple of rounds, that's for sure. I said yes. Sure many times, haven't I?
Yes. Now, you've been watching too much Formula One, Soumil.
Nico Rosberg, that is, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I couldn't be doing a Steven Gerrard and saying, yeah, of course.
Let's not go there with football. I'm to say it. I hate football.
You're not a Rangers fan, Peter. They just won the league.
Well, like I say, I hate football. I have no allegiance. But what happened in Glasgow yesterday? Absolutely appalling. But anyway, we go back to a real sport, motorsport. Kevin Nielsen versus Sam Coyter at the front here, and showing much better manners than I'm not going there. Maxim Ramstein then goes heavy on the defensive, so now Lauritsen really putting a lot of pressure on here now as well, and that's allowed Brian Lockwood to make his way through. Now, we know that obviously the heat race didn't go Brian's way. He managed to get his way back up into the transfer spots, but I think after being nose into the gravel in his heat race, I think he'll probably take this to be fighting for the top 5.
Indeed, yeah, I think it'll be a good result to have it on your back right now, but something tells me that they will still be very aggressive, including Coyter and Lockwood, right? The racecraft cars have a lot to earn, have a lot to prove. I think that they still got that in their bag, and when we speak about one racecraft car, we have to speak about the other one too. Such a shame for Nick Harwood. He's such a potent driver, Peter, but some days the tide is just not on your side.
No, it doesn't appear so to be Nick Harwood's day, and Brands Hatch is a lot more of a difficult circuit than people give it credit for. You know, a lot of people think about the Nürburgring, Nordschleife, and rightly, and Bathurst and places like that, but here at Brands Hatch, it's so easy to make a mistake. I mean, Paddock Hill, especially in a car without ABS, because you're trying to get the car to slow down, turn, rotate, and there you go. There you go. Maxim
no.
Ramstein, World Championship license holder, showing you that Paddock Hill is absolutely no place for a picnic. And Lauritsen now up into the podium spots, and Lockwood on the charge, and all of a sudden Brian Lockwood is one place away from claiming a podium position and returning to the form that we know he's capable of, the form that's always been there, but finally getting a clear run at a race to be able to do that. But of course, with all this argy-bargy going on, Kevin Nielsen and Sam Coiter have amassed a pretty much unassailable lead, over 4 seconds now. And now, is this where Coiter pounces? Because he's certainly close enough.
Exactly, he is. And interestingly enough, coming back to that aspect right there that happened with Maxim Ramstein, our junior race director pointing out that yes, there was tiny bit of contact. When you consider that Maxim Ramstein, without of course discounting any final cut round, that is, I forgot the exact term for it, he's still only 4 points behind Kevin Nielsen. This is the last thing that Ramstein would have wanted to see. But let's pin our focus on this one, Peter. One more lap. This is going to be a dogfight. Coiter has to attack, and he has to attack now.
Well, if we know Sam Coiter, of course, a triple Dutch karting champion, he absolutely loves a wheel-to-wheel battle, as does Kevin Nielsen. But you've got to think that Coiter, if there's an opportunity, he will go for it. So if he doesn't go for it, that means that Kevin Nielsen has been the model of perfection under pressure through Graham Hill Bend for the last time, along the Cooper Straight to Surtees here. This very wicked tight left-hander almost reminds me a little bit, in a strange way, of Sunset Bend at Sebring, because it's the corner of 1,000 lines, and I'm yet to hit the apex once. I can never figure out, do you go in wide, do you go tight? Anyway, they come through, both absolutely nose to tail. Nielsen from Coiter. Remember, both of these drivers have won. There have been 4 different winners from 4 races, but Nielsen and Coiter have been there, and Lauritsen barges Lockwood out the way, and Lockwood's absolutely lockstop to lockstop, carrying the speed through, trying to keep the car in a straight line. So Lockwood's rotten luck continues. Nielsen defends into Stirling's. Is it going to be into Clark Curve? Is Sam Coiter going to go for the lunge into the Jim Clark Curve? Under the Advan Bridge they go. Nielsen has been absolutely flawless under pressure here. A little bit of a slide, gasses it up along the Brabham Straight, and it's going to be the number 3 of Kevin Nielsen. What a drive from the Great Dane. And Sam Coiter chased them all the way. But my goodness me, that was flawless. And Tasdalen takes the spot on the podium. Where did he come from?
Dylan Burst has gone off.
Oh no. Oh, there he is, yes. Oh dear, dear. Down to 12th. Well, the first of what might be many Alcontech.com replays. So that's Ramstein's moment. And he loses it going down to Paddock Hill. Did he get a touch though?
He did, yeah.
He did. Oh, well, I do apologise. I did miss that. That's why we have the Alcontech.com replay.
And there was contact, and Lauritsen involved in that final incident there as well with Lockwood. Here's an Alcontech.com replay of that one. I'm not able to make a judgment on the first view. It seems very interesting because both of them were side by side. We'll have to take a few more looks of that one. But yeah, Dylan Burst, this is how he went off then.
Contact from Lockwood.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Poor old Dylan Burst. There's absolutely nothing he could do there. I think Lockwood got up on the curb going through Sheen. So there's Lockwood going off, and he's, yeah, literally lock to lock to keep the car in a straight line-ish. So there's the so it's a huge slide from Lauritsen, massive slide, and actually corrects with his contact with Lockwood. Tasdalen goes by thinking, I can't believe my luck. Lockwood's got a car all bent out of shape. Now coming through Sheens, Burst is there on the brakes. Yeah, just loses it in and then runs into the back of poor old Dylan Burst. And you've got to think, young man, he will be absolutely furious about that. And I don't think Brian Lockwood will be feeling particularly clever about himself after that either.
The word we're looking for is composure here, Peter. When you have an incident like that, it's so easy to lose any sense of calm all the way and then cause another accident. But it is what it is. If you're Gnonzo Tasdalen, What a steal!
Well, here are our, and listen carefully, the unofficial race results here, because I feel that these might change once the Simpower stewards get to digest all of that last lap action. There was certainly an awful lot of it, but one thing that we can say quite confidently, Kevin Nielsen, your winner, by a whisker from Sam Coiter. The pair, they were glued together for all 21 laps in a world of their own, really, winning by nearly 6 seconds, or just over 6 seconds actually in the end. Gunonzo Tastel emerging from that melee to get the last spot in the podium in third. Alexander Lauritsen in provisionally in fourth, followed by Maxim Ramstein, Brian Lockwood, Quentin Violati, Alexei Nezov, Senk Insioglu and Alexander Hetmank rounding out the top 10. Pascal Costa was 11th, followed by Dylan Burse, Lewis Ward, Marcel Jochheim, Rebecca Pauline, Matthias Burke, Jaime Fierro, David Ward, Marco Jaeger and Vince Peters rounding out the top 20. Your last few, Martin Donati, Oscar Wilkins, Matthias Jensen, Nick Harwood are the last driver on the lead lap, and those who finished a little bit further down off the lead lap, Justin Rem, James Parker, Gavin Halls, Nick Schulte-Wisseman, Camille Grabowski and Hendrik Lichtenhagen. Well, Soumil, once again, we were not let down with action here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup.
As always, no? It always ends with a sense of intrigue. Now, this time the intrigue is about what race control will have to say. But there's one common feeling along with that as well, a sense of satisfaction of seeing some really great racing. Now, I feel that Sam Coit had perhaps just attached a fishing rod of sorts and just tagged along, constantly maintaining a very similar gap. Let's see if he can change that, if he can go on the aggressive and then make off something really good in there later on.
Yeah, well, we've got our second place finisher coming in to join us here. Sam Coitert joined us now in the RaceSpot TV commentary box. If we can get a chat with our winner from last time out at the Nürburgring, second today. Sam, it's Peter here in the RaceSpot TV commentary box. Have you got a copy?
I've got a copy.
You've got a.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening, Sam. That was, goodness me, well, you had an absolute cracker last time out at the Nürburgring. A different challenge here at the Brands Hatch. Tell us about your night.
Tell us about your night. Quali did surprisingly go. Yeah, after practice I thought we were a bit off, but I think I just drove a solid lap, not the best, and then the sprint race, we were just a bit off in the beginning. The car was coming towards you, but yeah, I was struggling to keep up with Kevin and Alexander. They were really fast at the whole sprint race, but when they start fighting, yeah, it was easy to come back, and I think some good overtakes here and there in the sprint race, and yeah, then the final, Kevin was just so insane fast on those exits. It was really hard to get close. I think I was a bit faster at the end again, but yeah, just couldn't find a spot to overtake. So congrats to him. He drove really good and really amazing, like steady today. Yeah, overall P2, not too bad points again. Just climbing up the ladder, I think.
You certainly are. It certainly made a lot of forward progress in the last little while, Sam. I mean, we were considering that in the commentary box, whether you were comfortable behind Kevin or hanging on by your fingernails, but it sounds like it was something in between. Kevin was just, it looked like he did not make one mistake that whole 30-minute race.
Yeah, in the beginning I was just more like, I'm gonna stay with you, and because from the beginning on we got a gap from like 1.3, 1.4 seconds. So I was like, if we're gonna try to overtake each other, or at least we're just gonna lose time and the whole group is gonna get back together. So the first 20 minutes was just driving away from that group, and yeah, I knew Kevin could do that after all those previous races from him, so I was just keeping with him, and on the end I was searching for a bit of a gap, but no, it was really hard to find the gap.
Well, it was certainly a treat to watch from our viewpoint, Sam. Before we let you go, who would you like to give a shout out to here on RaceSpot TV?
Yeah, again, of course, my team, Racecross Esports, did a stellar job, I think, today after, again, not that many packing hours. And also Sim Controls, where I bought my gear. Yeah, I want to thank them for my new stuff.
Well, it's certainly working well, Sam. Whatever the new stuff is, I want to know what it is. I want to get some too. Brilliant stuff once again, Sam. Following up from a great win at the Nürburgring 2 weeks ago, and we wish you all the best of luck for the next round in 2 weeks' time.
Thank guys. I hope to speak to you again then.
We'll look forward to it. So that was Sam Coiter, our second place finisher tonight, and I believe we're going to get a chat with Brian Lockwood. We haven't spoken to Brian for a few rounds now, but when Brian will join us in just a second in the commentary box, and he is with Soumil Arora.
Brian, mate, do you have a copy on me?
Yeah, hey.
How's it going, mate? It's been a while since we spoke to you here in the commentary box. How was this weekend for you? Obviously, getting a bit tricky right at the very end.
Yeah. Well, I certainly didn't make it easy for myself with that mistake in turn 1 of the heat, and consequently getting bumped off track. But had a good run from the back. Honestly, was feeling really, really happy with the car. I was very comfortable throughout the whole race, and I'm sure you could see it. The pace was really there.
Exactly.
And I got to thank Kevin and Sam for that. I think they did most of the setup work, and I just showed up and benefited from it. So thank you to those guys. And yeah, you know, it was an awesome battle right up until the very end. Of course, not very happy with how that ended. But pace was there. It was almost a 1-2-3 for the three of us practicing together. So I think it was a good day overall.
And Brian, it's been something that I've been wanting to ask you for a while after all that happened in Imola and then the Nürburgring as well. Did you enjoy your racing today? Were you really happy out on track? Because the last couple of weekends really must be quite frustrating, weren't they?
Yeah, well, to be honest, Soumil, I've been really burned out lately. Really burned out. And I think with the Super Cup, I'm doing Oval Road to Pro qualifiers, doing a lot of coaching, developing that. Just, yeah, I've struggled a bit, but today was refreshing, even with everything that went wrong. And I will say I didn't have fun on that last lap, but until then, I really enjoyed this race.
Take care, Brian. Hopefully it all just sort of seems out very well in the end. Just take some good care of yourself. And finally, mate, your thoughts on the entire team? It's been going out quite well as a racecraft unit, and I'm sure you must be quite satisfied to see that for the whole outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam has been absolutely crushing it lately. He's really seemed to have stepped it up, and it's been awesome working with Kevin as well. I think he adds a lot to the program, and hey, since we've been working together, he and Kevin and Sam have gotten 2 1-2s, and you know, I've been somewhere in the back trying to follow it up. We've got Nick Harwood that's been also out there trying to support what those two are doing. But yeah, overall, I think it's been a really great couple of weeks. Hopefully, we get Kane back in and we can start dominating some podiums.
Exactly. Great stuff, mate. Just take care of yourself. Hopefully it all just ends up quite well. Pleasure speaking to you,
sure,
man.
sure. Thanks, man.
Oh, great to hear from Brian there, Soumil. Good to hear that good race gets him back on the right path, and well, also of course the setting the fastest lap of the race in the feature there too.
Not surprised. He's got such bundles of pace, Brian Lockwood, as I mentioned early on in the broadcast. Just bad luck here and there. I'm really keen to see what will happen when we don't see these sort of shenanigans often popping up, right? I want to see that straight fight between a Lockwood and Kevin Nielsen and Coited and the likes. I can't wait for it. And it's that anticipation, Peter. And those permutations and combinations, right? This time it was Coited versus Kevin Nielsen. I think in Zolder it was Coited versus Gonzo Tasdale and the likes. Those sort of things are very interesting to watch. In Nürburgring, it was Maxime Ramstein in the middle of it. I like to see these new battles coming along every single time. It's lovely.
Well, we do have time for one more interview. We're going to have a chat with Alexei Nezov from Urano Esports, and he joins us now in the commentary box. Alexei, welcome to the RaceSpot TV commentary box. Tell us about your day here at Brands Hatch.
Thank you guys. Well, the day was not one of the best, to be honest. Again, a lot of mistakes. I'm still struggling with this car, even though we already went through a lot of rounds, but now I have like a period when I have to prepare for my graduation exams, which makes me very hard to prepare for the races because I barely have no time for it anyway, and I have to learn during the qualifying, during the races. But well, from this perspective it looks good, but obviously I want more. But gaining 10 positions in the final race, finishing P8, I think it was not too bad.
Well, I think Alexei, with at this level to score in the top 10 with not able to do the preparation that you want, that's quite impressive. Of course, you're quite a dab hand in the Porsche 911 RSR here on iRacing. Of course, it's a 911, but this car it's quite a different beast to get your head around, I believe.
Yeah, well, this car is by far the hardest car for me in iRacing. I'm really struggling to work on it. I don't really understand how to work on the setups yet, so that's why basically I entered the championship to learn this car more. But I was still struggling, but I'm happy that I can get good pace from time to time, so this time it also was not bad. I mean, on this track it's so hard to fight because not so many corners, and all the pack is driving very consistently close to each other, and well, it's so hard to catch someone to pass, and yeah. Well, it's a good experience anyway, and obviously the pack is so strong, and I'm happy that I can be at least competitive with them.
Well, you certainly are, and of course, we've just finished a season in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Alexei, are you going to have a go to qualify for the next championship?
Yeah, obviously I will try to, and from the start I took this championship as a preparation for the series. But as you can see, the competition is very strong, and I'm still missing something, so I need truly to work on it. And as I said, I will work more hard and more close on it just when I finish my graduation exams. And so yeah, but in the meantime, I'm just driving this series to not forget how to drive this car, and at least to get some experience with that.
Well, first and foremost, Alexei, good luck with the exams. We'll be hoping to hear good news soon. Good luck with those, and looking forward to speaking to you again very soon here in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup.
Thanks a lot.
So that was Alexei Nezov, and I wonder what's more difficult, Soumil, preparing for graduation exam or trying to drive one of these cars around Brands Hatch?
I've done both of them, and I think I can say it's the car, honestly. It's a hardy, but you get a lot more satisfaction when you get it done, just because it's such a tricky machine. And what a car, what a series, what a track this was. Amazing weekend on the whole to round it off, Peter, and best part is we're only going to even more entertaining tracks after this one. Yeah, lovely.
I tell you what, a Sebring finale, that is a tantalising prospect. And in 2 weeks' time, we are off to Suzuka in Japan on the 30th of May, 7 PM GMT. Join us here on RaceSpot TV for the penultimate round of the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup. It's sure to be a thriller, and in 4 weeks' time, well, we're off to Sebring, one of my favourite circuits in the world. I cannot wait. It's going to be a thriller. On behalf of myself, Peter MacKay, Soumil Arora in the commentary box, and our producer Arjuna Kankapati, thanks so much for watching here on RaceSpot TV, and we'll see you next time in the PorscheSport.com Carrera Cup.